Good day, viewers. You are welcome to the AAU TV. My name is Rapheal Djane, and I'm the host for the AAU Talks for today. Today I'm hosting Mr. Benjamin Eshun. He's the acting chief executive of the Ghana Research and Education Network. You are welcome, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you, Rapheal.
Yeah. Okay, so our topic for today is the National Research and Education Network. We would want to know what it's about. So in a nutshell, can you kindly explain what the National Research and Education Network is all about?
Yes, Rapheal. Okay. To put it very simply, an NREN, or National Research and Education Network, is an organization which was established, or which is established by the tertiary and research institutions within the country, in order to build a physical network among themselves, using the commercial operators and so on, and then because of that, be able to facilitate collaborations among themselves, and then with other parts and other institutions outside of the country.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's more or less like an ISP, Internet Service Provider?
Well, it's like more like a specialized ISP.
Okay.
Because it's focused more on tertiary and research institutions or education institutions.
Okay.
And then it provides other services apart from internet services. It provides the resources for them to collaborate among others. Okay. So unlike an ISP that just gives you plain internet, this one, the NREN actually provides the internet services, but then also provides a lot of training and other, collaborative tools that allow the universities to share works together. And then, yes. Okay,
so can one say the NREN is more, if you like, advanced than the internet?
Well, you can say that the NREN is a larger subset.
Okay.
Or you can say an NREN is it's a form of yes, because the elements of the internet, as we know, which are part of the NREN, and actually the NREN itself actually predates the internet.
Okay.
So I'll get back to doing that. I mean, the establishment of the first NREN was actually what has led to the evolution of the internet.
Okay.
And the internet, the word internet itself, is a derivative of interim NREN.
Okay.
Which which I'll explain later.
Okay. Okay. So when was this started? When was the NREN started?
Okay. So like I said, this actually predates the internet itself, and this was somewhere in the late 1960s.
Okay.
From the U.S., when the Department of Defense and its Defense for Advanced Research and Project Agency developed the first ARPANET, which was a network, which was the first physical packet switching network in the U.S.
Okay.
Focusing more on the collaboration of the research institutions within the country, and then after that, it evolved from the National Science Foundation, and then looking at their supercomputing needs and other things, and then later on, it has evolved to a point where now there are about 110 different countries worldwide that have established NRENs in the country, and then many parts of Africa also have theirs, but then most of them are in the planning stages.
Okay. Okay. So what is involved in achieving, if you like, the NREN? What are some of the benefits associated to using NREN?
Okay. Now let's start from the basics of how the NREN and how it is in today's contemporary issues. It's at the very base of the NREN is what you have the institutions, as I said, campuses or research institutions that come together to form the NREN. Okay. And then the idea is that once you have a body that providing services to those research institutions, you can use economies of scale to bring down certain costs of internet and other services that run on it. Okay. Now, when you have one or two regional NRENs that come together to form what you call a regional network, and then from our part of the world, there are 3 regional networks. You have the GhREN, which is the West and Central Africa Research Education Network for West and Central Africa. You have the UbuntuNet Alliance, which is for Eastern and Southern Africa, and then you have ASREN, which is for the Northern Africa and parts of the Middle East. Okay. Yes. Okay.
So what is the criteria for selecting where the data center should be located?
Okay. Now the data center is one of the many derivative services that results as has to have the national infrastructure. Okay. And I said that the first and foremost thing is that the NREN itself is an organization. Okay. So based on having the connectivity available nationwide, the data centers or sources of information can be located either at an institution or a commercial provider or some other entity that's able to provide those services to the community. Because the physical location really doesn't matter once you have a physical network that interconnects all of them. The idea is to have a reliable, robust, and efficient way for the universities to collaborate.
Okay.
And that is the function of the NREN.
Okay.
To actually provide that network for the universities to collaborate.
Okay. So in a nutshell, what would you say the objectives, specific objectives of NREN are?
Okay. Now, this is, it might vary from country to country.
Okay.
Because, you know, worldwide, some are more advanced than others. In Africa, some are well, you know, we are now well on that when it comes to internet penetration, interconnectivity. But then one of the first major objectives is just basically to address the very expensive high, the internet access to tertiary and research institutions within the country.
Okay. And
that is formed our NREN. The other is to address the unreliable and poor networks.
Okay.
Now, what happens is that you working with the commercial ISPs or working with commercial partners. It's not a competition between the NREN and the ISPs. It's more of a partnership, where the NREN is able to attract funding and resources to build the networks, allow the commercial pay for the commercial networks.
Okay.
Commercial providers to build the networks. And then the NREN will derive services from it. It's also to have a common platform, which, like I said, you will allow institutions to collaborate. So, as you said, one institution might have a very good data center where servers and information can be stored, and then by virtue of having a physical network, other institutions can use it. One institution might be good in providing e-learning services, content, or other facilities, or even scientific equipment and analysis, which could be done, you know, on the network at a remote location. So basically, it is the network that fosters this type of collaboration, and the main objective of the NREN is to make sure that these functions and these collaborations can happen by having a physical network in place.
Okay. So what is involved in achieving these objectives? Okay.
Now, that's a good question, because in the past there's been various schools of thought about how to establish an NREN. Some thinking that it's a technical initiative, and others looking at it from an organizational perspective. Basically, as I said, the NREN must be seen as an organization. And there are typical pillars of forming an organization. You must look at the governance of the organization. What is the governance mechanism, and what rules, what are the functions, and what they're supposed to achieve, and those are other objectives. So once you see from the perspective of an organization, then certain rules are applied to that. Okay.
So who are the stakeholders of the NREN?
Okay. So like as I said earlier on, the main stakeholders are its members. Okay. And its members are the tertiary and research institutions within the country. Okay. So they are the key stakeholders. Obviously, the other related stakeholders, like the government, which wants to ensure that the levels of education at the tertiary level are improved, and all those things. So they are stakeholders. And then there are also various service providers and various entities who provide services. And of course, the AAU itself is a major stakeholder, because your key stakeholders are the tertiary institutions themselves. Yeah. So these are other various, but then the idea is that once that organization is formed, it's able to then provide those services to the members.
So are there any challenges associated to these NRENs?
Well, yes, there obviously, like most organizations, there are a lot of challenges. And to go back to the governance and the structure again. First of all, in the past, it had been seen as focusing more on infrastructure rather than looking at it from the organizational perspective. Okay. So that has led to a lot of activities that are being done, which has not made this a lot. Most of them are struggling to become sustainable. But once we moved it to the governance perspective, and then having to focus on the governance, infrastructure, staffing, and then also the financing of it, then these are. I'm trying to bridge the challenges and the objectives together so that we can. So basically, what I'm saying is that So for example, the infrastructure, like I said, is a partnership between the NREN and the incumbents of various providers within the country. The staffing must have full-time staff that are dedicated to achieving the objectives of the NREN. In most cases, there are part-time staff located at various universities or government agencies or group of bodies, which in the past has not led to, again, making it very sustainable. So when we break it down to that, and also it's also more of a financial management issue and administrative issue, and less of a technical, or more, and also somehow also technical.
Okay.
And so this can be addressed once you have the proper staffing, infrastructure, governance in place. Then the ability to source for funding to pay for the networks, and then goes on.
Okay. Okay. So what is the way forward to, if you like, solving some of these problems that you've just stated? How do you think the government, or how do you think we can actually mend all these problems that you've just stated?
Well, taking from the best examples of the 110 NRENs in the world, this is first of all, I said that it's a step as an independent organization, membership driven but government supported.
Okay.
That is the best formula for overcoming some of for achieving their objectives. So you have a membership who are active and demanding services. You have support from the government and other regulatory agencies to ensure that those things are done. Then when it comes to the financing, the best way is to look at separating the capex, or the capital expenditure of building the network, from the operational expenses of the network, where the capital expenditures are paid for by government, partners, donor agencies, or any other body, to ensure that those membership can be served, and then also ensuring that the operational expenses of the NREN, of the members, the operational expenses can be supported by the subscriptions and the membership payment of services, which is being rendered really rendered to the members.
Okay, so who owns the NREN?
Okay, simply put, the members own the NREN. Okay. To put it very simply and bluntly, but then, like I said, it is more of there are various stakeholders in ensuring that it happens, and the NREN must be accountable to all the various stakeholders, including its members. Okay,
so my understanding is that the NREN is a centralized network. So does it allow students and all other stakeholders to have access to it?
Yes, that comes down to the campus level.
Okay.
Because the students have access at the campus level. The NREN provides connectivity and other services to the campus.
Okay.
So there are various forms of services that can be run.
Okay.
The most predominant one, or the most common one, which is actually what leads the NREN formation, is the pricing of internet. Okay. Bringing down the cost of internet. Okay. And then being able to bring down the cost of internet to a point where you are able to afford gigs of data rather than megs of data. Okay. As part of the world. So then at that level, then the students then benefit from such fast and reliable connectivity. The other one is having federated identity systems, which allow the researchers and the academicians and within the campus to gain access to other data within their own country and other research education networks worldwide. And these are some of the services, and there are a host of other services which the NREN provides. Okay. So both at the national level, both at the campus level, and some of it even at the regional level. Okay.
Well, viewers, if you just joined us, this is the AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. This is the AAU Talks, and we've been discussing the National Research and Education Network. And my guest here is Mr. Benjamin Eshun. He is the acting chief executive of the Ghana Research and Education Networks. Okay, so back to you, Mr. Benjamin. So what would you say, how would you advise government to take part in the NREN?
Yes, like I said, government, NREN, no NREN can survive or achieve much without government support. Because don't forget that in our part of the world, there are mostly public universities and private universities and other quasi-universities which are government supported, and then the private ones. But then, in a nutshell, it's all the nationals of the country who benefit, whether in public or private. Okay. So government's interest to promote higher education, one of the best ways, or from my personal perspective, is to support the NREN. Okay. Support the NREN could be financial, or could be in terms of legislature, or waiving of certain rights, making it easier for the NREN to function. Waiving of certain taxes and levies and all those things, make it function, or giving the right licenses. So government assistance is key to the survival of any NREN, because it's for the national good. Okay. And then the national, because it's a national good, or this is for national good, then governments should be interested in promoting the activities of the NREN. And then Ghana, we have very strong support for the NREN from the Ministry of Education and other sectors of government. Okay.
So one may ask that, why National Research and Education Network? Why not maybe Regional Research and Education Network or Global Research and Education Network?
Well, like everything else, you start in silos. As I said, there are regional research and education networks exist, where and they exist because when national and research education networks come together to form such a body. And I explained how the three of them in Africa exist, but then in Europe there's a regional network that covers the whole of Europe called GhREN. And then in the US, in the United States, there's a regional network that covers the whole United States called Internet 2. The same for Asia Pacific and then other parts of the world. So these regional NRENs, regional RENs exist, and they actually foster collaboration among themselves, so that it's possible for institutions in Africa to collaborate with institutions in Europe or in Americas or Asia or any part of the world.
Okay, so where do we get content from?
Content is from the tertiary institutions.
Okay.
And there are content providers, and there are tertiary institutions that provide content. The idea is that once you provide the content, then the content can be shared among the network for everybody to use. And when I say it can be shared among the network, so one particular institution might have a very good material for teaching particular courses, and then by having such a private network, it's easy to share such information. When it comes to the research part of it, there are what you call large data sets in which can be accessed by researchers in order to formulate new theories or look at new proposals or new solutions, and then or new analysis of the data. Okay. And these data can be located from, depending on where the sources are located, it can be from anywhere in the world. But the idea, but then the point of it is that you must have the network which is reliable and cost effective enough for you to access those data, because some of those data can be in the hundreds of gigabits. Yeah. And then with poor networks, it will be virtually impossible to actually pull that data down, or for you to send that data across.
Okay. I think that is a good one. So how would you say that? So after the data has been stored in the NREN, or we having the data in the networks, when we want to pull this data, as you are saying, it will be cheaper compared to the internet. Is that the case?
Yes, what I'm saying is that the network, the speed, the access to the network would be faster and cheaper.
Faster and cheaper?
Yes, than what we're currently having.
Okay.
Because currently there's a disparity between the internet pricing within Africa and those of the developed world. Okay. And sometimes it's almost, more than 100 times what we're currently paying for smaller amounts of capacity. Okay. So and the only way to bring down the cost significantly is to form a national network, then buy huge capacities, which is called RRUs, for that means paying advance for 15 years, 20 years in advance, and then that would bring down the cost of connectivity within the country. And also looking at the regional perspective, then you could then negotiate at that side, look at the number of countries involved, and there are several initiatives which are currently ongoing to achieve that.
So it will be a collaborative effort, actually.
Yes, it has to be a collaborative, because the nature of an NREN is a collaborative organization. That's an NREN by its nature itself must foster collaboration. So then that is the way in which it will be done together, both at the national level and at the regional level, and then even at the global level.
Wow, that is good. Okay, viewers, so we've had a good time with Mr. Benjamin Eshun. We would like to take your last comments on to conclude the show.
Oh, okay. Yes, basically, just to, I guess I'll use just to recap. And the recap, and what I want to drive the point across is that for those countries which are emerging or trying to establish their NRENs, they must view it as an organization, first and foremost, rather than a technical intervention to achieve a result. Once you view it as an organization, then you're able to get the required resources and financing and other stuff to achieve the network.
Okay.
Yes, and not the other way around, because and that organization should be manned by full-time staff with the main objective of making sure that the NREN is able to deliver on its promises and then be able to serve its members.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Eshun.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, hello viewers. This brings us to the end of the show, and we'll meet you same time next week. Thank you.